Hello, and welcome to Greet the Week. I am Mona Duncan. Today's topic is creating a safety net. And that's important. You know, one of our 5 basic needs is for survival, to be safe and to be safe not only physically, but mentally and emotionally and financially and all those ways of being safe. And so for the past few weeks, I've been talking about some of the classes that I presented to the prisoners whenever I was working there. And on building a safety net, it is looking at all the different components, all the different people, all the different organizations that are there to help us. And sometimes we may think that others are against us, but they're really not. And so as we go forward, our concern, you know, sometimes we look at where I was yesterday or where I am today, or, well, that may be a concern, but our biggest concern is where am I going now? Where am I now and where am I going now? So we're going to be looking at some suggestions, which is really all that I ever have is suggestions, because we are all self-determining. And I'm going to bring this up and we will start from the beginning. Okay, there it is. We're going to be looking at creating a safety net. And I have a quote here. I like to look at it as though we're on trying to balance ourselves on a tightrope. And that as long as we have a balancer to help us and keep our eye on the platform that we're going for, then we will have an easier ride. And I have a quote here from Heraclitus, I suppose is how you pronounce his name. He was even before Aristotle. And he said, because it is so unbelievable, the truth often escapes being known. And sometimes we're looking at the future, making a safety net. We need one to keep us safe. But the only thing we can look toward is from our imagination, because the future is an impasse. We've lived the past, we've lived, and that's all that we have to base anything on. It's what has already happened. And so it's looking at, maybe we can see the future in a different way and look from our imagination of what could possibly be. So, do you want to know a secret? Well, the thing of it is that with secrets, the secret is there are no secrets. There's only possibilities. There's only thoughts to think. There's only new ideas to look at because of the information we have received from others. And we may not want to hear it, or we may say, hey, wait a minute, maybe that was a good idea. The possibilities start out as baby steps. We want to, you know, what's the secret? The secret to be successful, the secret to be overcomers, the secret to, well, they all, like seeds, grow from just a little bitty seed. And the steps that we take and the motions that we make, they're baby steps. But walking the high wire needs a safety net, so that if you fall, you won't crash and burn. You may be hurt, but you won't be crippled. And so does life. It needs a safety net. And when we have a balancer in hand, we're not just going out there, we have a balancer in hand that we can begin to, as we kind of wobble, we can begin to move those balancers. That brings us back into equilibrium. That it is less effort for us to stay aright if we have that balancer. Also, as we keep our mind, our eyes, our heart, our soul on the conquest. And have mentioned before how much I like words, and I always like to really think about the word that I'm using. And I started to keep our mind and our focus always on the prize, the win, but I put it on the conquest, because I see the conquest as kind of a fight that we're in. And I know for certain, for almost certain, that those working with that were in prison, they were in a constant fight. There was a constant battle, but usually the battle that we have is with us. We may take it out on others, but it's usually the battle that we have with us. And so we want to keep our eyes on where a safe landing is and how many more steps we need to make to get to that safer landing. And the part of it is, in making and knowing the secret, is being friends with yourself, is realizing that you are an individual, the highest order on planet Earth, and that you have infinite worth and value, and that you matter, you belong in this world. And if you weren't here, there's a big void. As Irene Dunn said, I believe it was that said that every man's death diminishes me. It's because we need each other. And then a setback doesn't mean failure. If we have one or two steps back, but that can really motivate you to go on further ahead. And that just get up, dust yourself off, and get right back on track, because that is the way that we succeed, and realizing that it is worth it. Well, I'm telling you that it is worth it, but actually you need to ask yourself, is it worth it? And so how is worth determined? Well, I suggest that worth is determined by the amount we are willing to pay for it. And so if it's worth it to overcome, then if you are willing to pay the price to do those things, and there is a cost. So anytime we look at change, this is the Chinese character for change, there are always two competing energies that show up. And looking back to the fact that we are looking to conquest, whenever those two energies show up, we're in a battle with them. And one of the energies that shows up is danger. And it's saying, caution, 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 you're going to lose what you're familiar with. And sometimes we can be familiar even with something that's ready, but it's our rut, and we're familiar with it, and we know what tomorrow's going to look like, so we kind of stay there. So whenever we start looking for change, to overcoming and to growing beyond, there's that fear of losing what we're familiar with. But there also, and it can be more balanced by an opportunity, that opportunity to step out of being thrust from our comfort zone. That I didn't choose it, but I'm being thrust out. And I like to think of the eagle and the eagle's nest. Whenever the parents, mom and dad, are preparing the nest for the eaglets to be born in and reared in and then fly away from, they put all kinds of things in there. Not only do they pick out, get some good rabbit fur, but pick out some of the downy feathers on their own breast to put it there to make it all nice and soft. But underneath that, they put thorns, and they put shard glass. They put all kinds of things down there, and then they pack it down with what is comforting to the newborn baby. But as those eaglets grow, and it is time for them to be thrust out and to do their own thing in life, the parents will begin to pull out that rabbit fur or those soft feathers so that they are uncomfortable. They can't get comfortable on all those shards of glass or those thorns that are there. And then it becomes a danger even to stay there. Even though they are familiar with it, it can become a danger. And so it's always looking for the fact that every cell in our body, every gene in our body is always in a state of one of three positions. It is either closed for safety, for protection, not to let anything in, or it is open for growth, to see things differently, or it is for status quo. of staying in the rut, even though it's ready. So looking at what is easier, and I like to look at the easier and kind of look at that, is it easier to struggle or is it easier to be compliant? And compliant doesn't mean just lying down and taking whatever comes along. There's kind of a struggle even in the compliance. All the things that we have been looking at up until this, they're all, each lesson is complete within itself, but everything is built upon other things. And we've looked back before at systems and in building them, and whether we are the rebel that is for change and for cause, or whether we become the rebel that is to just in your face and so what with you. So in system theory says that when a system remains stable while there are changes in other systems within that overall system, then it's in the state of balance. And balance is a fundamental concept of nature. We're always having cold fronts that come in and warm fronts that come in, and all kinds of uprisings from air and so forth. It's to keep it in a somewhat state of balance that keeps us alive and keeps the animals alive and keeps whatever is growing alive, because things can get out of balance. And it's why we need that balancer to continually kind of go back and forth so that we can keep it more where we are doing the right thing. And so when one part of that system is changed, it is automatic that the entire system begins to adjust to it. And so, which is easier? Is it easier to change another person, or is it easier to change yourself? And that's not saying that either one is easy, but which one do you actually have the say-so over it? We talked before about what is authority. Well, it's say-so. So whose say-so do you have more charge of, your own or someone else's? Is it easier for you to decide for yourself what you will do, will not do, what your behavior is? Or is it easier to be just locked up and to have others try to control you? So which is easier? Is it easier to change the system, or is it easier to change your attitude about what the system says is a more effective way of handling life, of living within bounds? And is it easier to change the mood, or is it easier to do the right thing? And as we go back up there and we look at the Chinese character, that it's there, that Chinese character in making change is saying, danger, you're losing your familiarity, or it's an opportunity to be thrust out so that you can be forced to change, and it leads to change, and it leads to a better outcome in the long run. And so we always have these energies. And that energy is, oh, I'm in the mood to do this. And that energy leads you to doing something, but it is in what you're thinking. It's looking at the past, what you've done before. Or are you going to do the right thing anyway? And doing the right thing anyway is a message that you get from your wisdom heart. So let's unpack. We need to unpack so that we can find some balance. And let's unpack you. As you change, your peers change. And everything I teach is as middle of the road as I can get it. Because as you change, your peers change. That's either in a positive mode or it's in a negative mode. It's either to be influenced by others to be more successful and to be more calm and more happy, or it is to be influenced by others that would take you down a slippery path. So as you change, your peers change. And it begins to do that automatically. Sometimes they drop you, but sometimes it's because you're a different person. Or sometimes you drop them because you're a different person. And that's whether it's rebelling from the family or what. As we unpack, we heal ourselves. We heal ourselves, but we do not do it in isolation. We need input from others. We need encouragement from others. We need direction from others. The system theory, we already talked about that. I didn't realize I put it on 2 slides here, so we're going to go on. So here is a quote from Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and I absolutely love this. And I see this as in unpacking us. He said, human beings are not born once and for all on the day of their birth their mothers give to them. When we're born, it's not the done deal. It's still that little seed of who we're going to be. Life obligates them to over and over and over give birth to themselves. Everything that we come up against, we have an opportunity to grow a little, to give some birth to ourselves. And it is our choice. It is our decision. And then I think back to what I talked about the other day, about my little grandchild that said to me, he said, "Oh, Nana, do caterpillars know that they will become butterflies? Or does life surprise them?" And sometimes life surprises us by pandemics, by being thrown in jail, by, wasn't my fault, I am innocent, maybe so, maybe no. But there is a system to go through. And sometimes systems need to be changed and adjusted. But there's a system. The system, every system works perfectly. The systems we use, they work perfectly for the results that we get. But do we like those results or not? So developing, here's some of the ways to continue to develop a healthy self-esteem. Graciously receive your givens. Well, we've looked at this before. You know, that the fact that the moment of conception, we were pre-programmed, eye color, how tall we would grow to become, skin color, gifts, talents, all these things were pre-programmed. And so our givens is our family DNA that's a part of us. And graciously receive them. Well, you may be short like Grandpa was. You may be, you know, you may have something, you may look more like someone is, oh, I don't want to look like them. But you know what? It's a given. Graciously, gently receive them. I was given this. It's a gift. Choose not to compare yourself with others. Choose not to compare, well, they're this and I'm that. And usually when we compare others, it's either to think that we are greater than and look down on them. Thankfully, I'm not like that person. Well, neither of that. You see, if we think we're better than or worse than, what it does is it sets us up for lack. And I don't want lack. I want abundance. I want abundance for myself. I want it for you too. So choose not to compare yourself with others, not any others. An inferior skill does not make an inferior person. We're all growing. There's always things to learn. There's always more to overcome. Potential, as Vince Lombardi said, means you ain't done it yet. And we all have that potential. We all have that possibility. The future right now is at an impasse. We don't know what the future is going to be. It's going to be good and bad. That's pretty sure, because that's what the past has been. But potential means it hadn't happened yet. And so it's the possibility that it can happen. And what can I do to make it happen? Well, in the process, watch your self-talk. And not only your self-talk, but your self-think. In the process, be harsh on yourself, but be gentle on you. Be harsh on your behavior, but be gentle on you. When you slip up, when you respond angrily to someone, when you slam a door, be harsh on your behavior, but be gentle on you. I'm really better than that. I really know better. I can do better. And always choose a positive attitude. Because you know, that's one of the gifts we've been given is our attitude. And we could make it a rotten one, or we can make it more pleasant. So be a good finder, even though it is difficult. Look and see what lesson is in there that will turn out to be a diamond in the rough that just needs to be shined up, or maybe have some of the excess cut away. Respond rather than react. Responding is giving a little space to think about before you automatically speak up or don't speak up. It is responding. If you have a fever or you don't feel well and you take an aspirin and the fever begins to go away and you begin to feel okay, your body is responding to that intake. But if the fever continues to go up, or you have a rash, or you begin to itch, what is happening is your body is reacting to. Reactions are negative. There have to be a reactor in a dynamite or it won't explode. And so we want to respond to rather than react to. And that secret of that response is to pull that fuse out a little bit so that you can stomp it out before it explodes. Always use I statements and speak only for yourself. Yes, I would like that. No, I would not like that. I think. Use I statements. Watch your self-talk. Well, that's very vital. We'll have it in there always, always, always. Watch what you tell yourself. What are you telling yourself about another person? What are you telling yourself about you? And how much truth is there? And there may be a little bit of truth, but if that truth is a negative truth, what can you do to make it into an okay truth? And you know these things deep down inside. We are very knowledgeable. We are very intelligent. We're the highest order on planet Earth. And you know so much, but listen to yourself. Listen to your wisdom heart. And smile often. That smile, turning up the corner of your nose, the corner of your mouth, can really begin to lift that heavy cloud that may be around you. So, and then also in reinventing you is to understand the power of self-evaluation. And so continually challenge yourself to excellence, 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 not perfection. Perfection, once it's there, it's the pinnacle. The only thing that is left for that is for it to begin to erode and waste away. And so we want to go for excellence, doing the best you can do at the time, under the circumstances, with the information that you have to this point in time. The power of self-evaluation helps you to begin to lessen your dependence on what someone else says. That you can begin to look at, oh, did I do a good job? You don't have to have everybody trying to pat you on the back to tell you did a good job. As you can begin to look at, it's not to the perfection yet, but I'm doing better than I did the last time. And it begins to lessen your dependence on others as you begin to look and see, am I pleased with that? And I'm not talking overinflated ego. I'm talking a healthy self-esteem. It promotes healthy competition. So then you can have a race with someone else and you can beat them or you can lose. It really doesn't matter because you're still that person of value. And if someone else wins, maybe you need to work a little bit more at the competition. Self-evaluation encourages a non-judgmental judgment in that you can look honestly at, this is the error that I made, but this is the way I'm going to correct that error. This is the negative attitude I had, but this is the way I can see it maybe as being muscle building. And also in evaluating, it helps you to have a roadmap of how to recover fumbles. Because although the future is coming from our imagination, we look at the past based on what already happens. And if we know how there was one time we recovered a fumble, then we can be more assured that we can recover this fumble or the next fumble, as in, and then continually evaluate and make plans around your entire life, around everything, not only going home to your family and friends and co-workers, but how you handle your job, what your future plans are. And we looked at time and management, and we've looked at that. And so this is continuing to build upon it as you are setting a safety net for yourself and planning and evaluating your whole life. And then also accentuate your time makers. And go back to the previous ones. We looked at that. We took the time and we developed it into 4 quadrants. And one of those quadrants was things that actually makes time for you. No, we only have 24 hours in a day, but we use them more effectively. So it seems like we have more time. So there's other balancers that we need to unpack, and that is supportive family members, healthy peers, those people that maybe at one time you dissed them because they were a loser, but you realize, you know what, that person I thought was a loser that I went to school with, that lived next door to me, they're just a plain old Joe, but they're a pretty good Joe. So find some healthy peers. Look at mentors. Look at people in the community. Look at sports. Look at someone that has some positive qualities that you want to emulate. But don't emulate the negative ones. Only go for the positive ones. Look for some role models. What about skilled help? In the Waco area, and I'm sure most cities do have, a helps guide that you can look at all the community resources and the skilled help that is available to you, and try one. If that doesn't work, try another one. And then unpacking balancers is definitely your family. And I wanted to share this quote from Brene Brown because I think that's so very important. And we've looked before at having good, healthy relationships, and but Brene Brown wrote in Daring Greatly, she said, I also learned that the people who love me, the people I really depend on, were never the critics who were pointing at me while I stumbled. They weren't in the bleachers at all. They were with me in the arena, fighting for me and with me. Now, I want to stop here for just a second, because sometimes they may have been telling you what to do, but you know what? They were really fighting for you. They were trying to help you to see something that you were not yet seeing. And so they may have come across to you as a nag, but maybe as you can begin to look at things in a different light, you were seeing how much they really were wanting you to see the positive point that you could do and you could overcome. The rest of what Brene says is, nothing has transformed my life more than realizing it's a waste of time to evaluate my worthiness by weighing the reaction of people in the stands. Do they matter? Yeah, they matter. They're wonderful people. They have worth and value as a person. But you know what? That you are more. You are who you are. Be you. The people who love me and will be there regardless of the outcome are within arm's reach. They're people that really care about you, even though you may get really mad at them and really upset with them and really frustrated with them at times. And Brene says, this realization has changed everything. So without comment, I'm going to read that again. Unpacking your balancers includes your family. Now, the healthy ones, okay? The ones that are on your side, you know the difference. And it doesn't mean to diss those that are not on your side, just spend less time with them. I also learned that the people who love me, the people I really depend on, were never the critics who were pointing at me while I stumbled. They weren't in the bleachers at all. They were with me in the arena, fighting for me and with me. Nothing has transformed my life more than realizing that it's a waste of time to evaluate my worthiness by weighing the reaction of people in the stands. The people who love me and will be there regardless of the outcome are within arm's reach. This realization can change, has changed, can change everything. So, what's your safety net? Have you thought about it? Look at the people, look at the thoughts, look at the things, look at the community, and keep them within arm's length. I think you can do it. In the meantime, have a great rest of the week and good mental health. Go in peace.